Hello everyone and welcome back to my third or fourth knitting podcast. I'm so excited today to update you on my finished objects, my works in progress and some exciting future yarn plans. Oh, and also quite a few gift knits as well, which is exciting because obviously we're in the lead up to the Christmas season now. Oh, if you're new here, hello, my name is Katie. I am a content creator online living in London. I've been making content online for the past 15 or so years. I talk about petite fashion, London lifestyle, dating, food, a little bit of everything. I taught myself how to knit at the start of the year. In January I made my first scarf and now I'm like so obsessed with knitting. It is such a highlight of my day. I find it so therapeutic. I love making my own garments and I'm just obsessed with this knitting community on the internet. Everyone seems so lovely here on YouTube and on Instagram, and I'm making these videos purely as a way to connect with other knitters because it's so fun to chat all things knitting, garments, yarn, stuff like that. I'm feeling slightly under the weather. I woke up earlier this week like without any hearing in my right ear, but I'm on very strong medication now. I'm feeling a little bit better, but if I look a little bit poorly that would be why. But first things first, I am wearing a jumper that I made. This was my first ever test knit that I did early this year. I think it was around March, April time, and I can now finally reveal what it is. I haven't been able to talk about this because it was like a secret test knit for a Lane publication, which is so exciting. This was like the second jumper I ever made and it is a pattern by Vicky Knits, who is a pattern maker that I really love. It was one of her patterns that was the first I ever did. Like my first ever garment was called the April vest. Still wear that top all the freaking time. And this is her jumper called the Erika sweater, and this has been recently announced that it's being published in a Lane publishing book called 52 Weeks of Chunky Knits. So if you're in the mood for some chunky knitwear patterns, this book by Lane is definitely one to check out. It looks like this, and this is the jumper that I made. I will obviously give full details of this in my end of year kind of everything I knit this year video, but for now just a couple of pointers. It is a bottom up jumper knit in Drops Air. It was my first time working with Drops Air and I have since used it loads because it's become one of my favourite yarns just because it's so soft. And this jumper is knit in garter stitch completely, which is kind of nice to do because this is worked flat and then seamed together at the end. This is like the perfect pattern for a beginner knitter, I think, because it's literally a case of working up panels and then seaming it together. As you can see, I think my like edge seaming is really well even for a beginner. Like I was super impressed with that, and since blocking it it's grown out a lot and I just find it so comfortable. So I love the colours that I've chosen. These colours are all inspired by my cat Reese. I'll insert a picture of him here, although he might come and join us at some point in this video. I'm contemplating getting my hands on the 52 Weeks of Chunky Knits booklet because I do love knitting up chunky knits just because they fly off your needles and it's so good for like satisfaction and reward with knitting, and some of the patterns in that book look really lovely. So yeah, I was super excited to test knit this and think I'm going to get a lot of wear out of it. Okay, so I'm going to kick off with 3 finished items from since my last video, so I will update you on those now. First up is my sweater number 1 by My Favourite Things Knitwear, and this I knit up in the Drops Alpaca boucle in the shade, I want to say beige. Everything is like linked on my Ravelry, by the way. I'll leave a link to that down below, so if there are any like specifics that I'm missing, go and check that out. And I also held it together with 1 strand of Drops brushed alpaca. This jumper is a Raglin construction, so it's worked from the collar and then into the yoke, the Raglin increases, which I find really interesting because they're all make one lefts. Like you don't do any make one rights, it's all make one lefts. And when I was knitting this I was actually kind of disappointed that the yarn was so kind of chunky because you can't see really any of that definition. Like it's completely lost with how soft and cozy and chunky this yarn is. Saying that, oh my god, what a dream this jumper is to wear. It's so cozy, so soft. I haven't actually blocked this yet, only because I'm a bit scared about how the alpaca boucle are gonna like act when after being blocked, but I am going to do that at some point because I feel like it could drape a little bit better. It's still kind of tight around here, which I would like it to like loosen up and grow a tiny bit like this jumper has. It's knit on 6mm needles, so it goes by so quick. I think I finished this in 2 weeks. It was so quick to knit. That's also because I was just so obsessed with getting it finished. One thing I like about this pattern are all the ribbing is knitted through the back loop, which I really enjoy doing much more than regular knitting. I just find it so much easier to purl one, knit through the back loop, purl one, knit through the back loop. I find that really satisfying. So that is on the collar, the arms and the bottom here. I feel like I bound off quite tight on this, which is a shame. Since then I've been making a real conscious effort to try and loosen up my cast off, my bind off. I can't remember, I think I did tubular bind off for the sleeves and the body on this, which took ages but is worth it because it is a tiny bit more stretchy. I do have a mistake with this pattern, and that is my arms. My arms are wildly different. So as you can see, this arm ribbing is so much longer than this arm ribbing. I think I just wanted to get this finished and it was really annoying me, so I tried so hard to like measure this up, but the difference is a little bit wild. So I could potentially rip back and elongate this one, but saying that, I tend to wear it with the sleeves kind of rolled up a bit anyway, so I don't think it is that noticeable. Would I make this again? Yes, and I kind of have. So I'll show you that next. If you have any specific questions about anything at all in this video, I know that I tend to talk quite quickly and waffle a lot, so if I'm missing anything then do let me know. But yeah, I really love this, and I've actually got a video on my Instagram of me styling this up, which everyone has been so kind about this jumper despite its very obvious mistakes. My next finished item is kind of, I want to say, my first kind of custom, not self-drafted but kind of self-drafted item. I've always, throughout my knitting journey the past year, I have always knitted patterns. Like, I would have no idea what to do if I was doing it myself, but for this one I went rogue and I'm so happy because it's turned out exactly what I wanted. So burgundy is huge at the moment in the fashion world on Instagram. Burgundy is everywhere. In fact, it's everywhere so much that I'm kind of getting a bit bored of it. But I really wanted a burgundy jumper, but I didn't want to buy one, so I decided to knit one up. And here she is. Ignore the creases. All of my jumpers get folded, but they still get kind of lines down them. So this is a Raglin jumper, but with kind of like bell-sleeved, like flared sleeves and a cropped length. I will insert videos so you can see exactly what it looks like on. And for this yarn I used Drops Air, the same yarn that I used for this jumper here, held together with Drops brushed alpaca, which you're going to see, like, I'm loving the Drops brushed alpaca. I do find it a little bit less itchy than kid silk or mohair, so I have been using a lot of that as like a lace. It holds together with other yarns to give just this really gorgeous kind of fluffy, I mean, Drops Air is kind of, it's a blown yarn, so it's kind of fluffy anyway and kind of thick, but held together with the alpaca, I don't know if you can see, it's just so soft. And colour wise I used the Drops brushed alpaca silk in the shade 23, which is called Bordeaux, and I used Drops Air in the shade 07 Ruby Red. On Ravelry, I'm pretty sure 07 Ruby Red is called something else. It might be called Bordeaux, or it might be called like dark red or something like that, but they match so perfectly. And so for this jumper I used the same cast on neckline and the same Raglin increases as my sweater number 1, but then I went rogue. I've decided that I really don't like kind of like a decreases around the waist that kind of clinch you in like this one. I've decided I don't really like the shape of that as a jumper. So for this I knit it to a kind of cropped length on me, and I didn't do any decreases, but I just did the normal ribbing at the bottom until it was kind of a nice length. And for the sleeves, instead of again doing decreases, I decreased every kind of 6 rows or so for about, I think in total I decreased about 5 times just along here, and then just did the normal ribbing. And I just think the shape of this sleeve is so nice. I've really enjoyed working on these 2 projects that are top down raglins, because it just means it's so much easier when it comes to trying it on and like really adjusting to what you want. All of the jumpers that I've made before have been bottom up and kind of seamed together as you go, which yeah, makes it a lot harder to know what you're doing basically. Absolutely love this. I've been wearing it so much. In fact, I wore this out when I saw my parents last weekend, and my dad literally couldn't get over the fact that I'd made this. It does look store-bought. It is so perfect. Again, here are the make one lefts on the raglan increases, and I just love this jumper so much that I bought the yarn again to make it in a couple more colours. I bought it in a light grey, which I'm going to make again exactly like this, just I think a super all year round throw on casual jumper. And I've also bought it in a slightly darker grey that I'm going to make into a t-shirt, because I tried this on when the sleeves were about here and the shape was just looking so flattering. So yeah, I'm going to be making this as a t-shirt as well, and if you'd like to see that process, do let me know. I would love to like not use the raglan and the increases as like, I'd basically love to do this again but with my own cast on neckline and my own calculations. I just don't really know where to start for that, so if you have any advice, do let me know. I've like left a little bit of string at the back of both of these jumpers just so I know what the back is, because these jumpers don't have any short rows in. I need to get like some little labels made that I can stick in my jumpers. I think that would be really nice. One other final whip was a very quick, very easy one. It was a gift knit for my friend who's having a baby girl. I decided to make her this little hat, which I can insert here. It's off with her at the moment. I think she's literally about to give birth this week, so hopefully she'll send some pictures of the baby wearing it. But I used like a stash yarn, which I think I bought when I first started knitting, and I didn't really know what yarns had different weights and stuff like that, but it was a really cute purple Aran yarn, I think I want to say, and I found the pattern for free on Lovecrafts. It was actually called the Preemie Baby Hat, and it's such a good free pattern because it has loads of different options for like little designs on the hat, so you can either do like a heart or a diamond, or like stripes or ribbing, or this kind of like lacy eyelet designs. There's loads of different options and they are all so cute, so I'll leave a link to that down below. I chose the diamond one, which was really quick and easy to do, especially for a baby hat that small. It only comes in one size, which is 11 to 12 inches, which is for a premature baby. So I added on, I think 12 stitches enough for another repeat, because I wasn't sure how big this baby's head was going to be. So I hope it fits when the baby arrives. So they are all my finished items. I have quite a lot of whips on the go, and one of them I am just so excited about. So you've probably heard me waffling on about how much I wanted to make the Yoon sweater by November Knits, and I was so freaked out about making this pattern. I bought the pattern back in February. I purchased the yarn back in like July, August. I think I just scared myself about how hard the pattern was, because I'd seen loads of people talking about how difficult it was, but actually I found it a breeze and I'm so proud of myself. So in my autumn winter knitting plans video podcast, I showed the gauge swatch of this, so if you want to hear me talking about it there, go and check that out. But I'm so excited to say that I've made quite a lot of progress, and here she is. Oh my god, I can't believe I've made this. I think this might be my most like sophisticated knit to date. I don't know, would I say I'm a beginner knitter still? Maybe like a little bit more advanced beginner now, and I am just loving this jumper. I'm so excited for it to be finished. So I have knit this in the Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in the shade Thundercloud. The pattern calls for Knitting for Olive Merino. I don't know why I decided to go for a heavy merino. I think I'd seen some patterns on Ravelry that used heavy merino instead, and for some reason went for that one. And then I've held it together with the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair I think it's called, in the shade Midnight, which is kind of like a navy. So let me show you them together. I've only got a little bit left of this current ball. This is the heavy merino in Thundercloud, which is such a nice mild grey, like a dark grey, and I'm holding it together with the mohair in Midnight, which is more of like a dark grey navy, and that's purely because I can choose between a grey jumper or a navy jumper, so I decided to combine both of those colours, and I'm really liking how it's looking at the moment. So this is my first ever double knit collar. The pattern called for an 8cm collar, and I did that, but it's actually looking quite big, like a lot like higher than of the rest of the pictures I've seen of this particular jumper. So that is my only upset with this at the moment. I wish I'd done it slightly shorter, but saying that, on my neck it doesn't look like, it doesn't swallow me up too much. But if I was to knit this again, which I probably would, I would make this collar slightly shorter. The reason this pattern was so frightening, and it really just took a lot of concentration and a lot of reading and studying to get your head around, is because knit your raglan increases, but you're also doing German short rows. And so the raglan increases, you need to work the other way on the wrong side, and then also the short rows on the wrong side are worked differently, which I hadn't done before. In other German short row patterns, I'd only been working in the round on the right side. Is that right? I'm getting well confused. But anyway, I managed it. I did have one problem, which I think I've covered up and you can't really see, but basically I had like messed up a short row right at the front, like around here, and I forgot that I was working a short row, and I was like, why are there 2 stitches in one here? And I like let go of it, and it all unraveled, and I'd made a right mess of this jumper. But I managed to kind of try and pick up some stitches and sort it out, and also sewed a little bit of the yarn in to cover the hole, and I don't think it's that noticeable. So I'm still really happy with how this is working. I've separated for the body, I've divided for the ribbing at the front and the back, and now I am just working on my front ribbing section. So I've got quite a lot left to do on the ribbing on the front, then I need to do the ribbing on the back, and it's going to be so nice because it's going to have this nice open ribbing detail, and then I need to do the sleeves, and that again has quite a lot of ribbing. But I'm hoping to have this finished. I just don't know if I can commit to the end of October, only because I have so many gift knits on the go, but I hope the next time I film this I'll have a lot more progress, and I'm just so excited and so happy with myself for making this. I think it looks so good. What do you guys think? As I said, we are getting into gift knit season, and I've worked out that I need to make 1 gift knit a week in order to be done for Christmas. I don't know why I've made this so difficult for myself, but I thought it might be actually really fun to have a standalone gift knit project vlog where I try and bash out as many gift knit projects as I can in one day. So I think I'm going to film that next week. If you would like to see that, stay tuned. I will talk a little bit more about the other gift knits I'm going to make in that video, but I can show you what I have started already. So like, I'm making something for most members of my family, and I will start with one that I've kind of half done. Mummy Snooks, if you're watching this, turn off because I don't want you to see this. So I offered everyone a hat for Christmas. I love making hats, they're like my new favourite gift knit, but my mum doesn't really wear hats, so I was like, do you want some socks, do you want some mittens? And she was like, oh yeah, I want some mittens. So she chose out a colour. She said she wanted black and gold. She said she wanted like a sparkly black. I have looked everywhere for a sparkly black yarn, and I just can't find one. There are some nice like grey sparkly and like red sparkly yarns in Hobbycraft, but we went to Hobbycraft together and she couldn't really find anything that she liked. So I did a little bit of digging, and I found this yarn, which I've got to say is a right pain to work with. It's not even a yarn, it's literally just a thread. So this is the Drops Glitter I want to say, and I got a gold. This one spoolie cost me about £1, and it's a sweater quantity. Like, it's so thin and so fine, but just adds the loveliest little shimmer and sparkle. So it is obviously like a plastic material, and I was really worried about how that would feel on the hands, because I do want these mittens to be nice and soft, but I don't think it like held together with a yarn. Ooh, I don't think it's that bad. So I have held that together with Drops Charisma in black shade. So I held these two together, and I can now show my first mitten. The ends aren't woven in yet, but here she is. I can't believe I made a mitten. That's so fun. So again, I found this pattern on Ravelry, and it's a free pattern. I will link it below if anyone wants to recreate. It's super simple. I did have a little bit of trouble working out the thumb hole, but me and my mum are like hand twins, and this fits perfectly. So I'm so excited about this. I think the colours look so nice. It is kind of basic, but I didn't want to do anything cabled or too taxing for my first pair of mittens, especially because they're gift knit and I've got so many gift knits to make this year. And also because it's a black yarn, I think the cables kind of would have been lost, but it has ribbing here and then stockinette and then some longer ribbing here, and then the hole for the thumb. So yeah, this took me 2 days to make, super quick. In fact, I probably could have done it in a day, but I was also knitting on other stuff and out and about. So yeah, I just need to try and recreate this exactly identically again. And that is my first work in progress gift knit. My second is a hat for my sister. I made my niece a pink hat using the Danny Boy pattern as a birthday gift knit for her, and my sister said that she wanted the same, like exactly the same. I did it pink with a red bobble. In fact, I did 2 red bobbles because I just thought it looked so cute, and she wears it all the time and she is the cutest thing in it. So I'm making the same again for my sister, but I'm making the adult size and I'm using a different yarn. So for the original I used Cascade 220, which is a superwash, and for my sister's I'm using, you guessed it, my favourite, Drops Air in this shade, which I think is a new shade called Strawberry Ice. And oh my god, I love the colour of this. There's so many, I don't know if it's going to pick up on camera, but there's so many different colours in here. There's some like pinks, whites, purples, peaches, and it is knitting up so nicely. So I did the ribbing a lot longer than the pattern called for. I'm using the Danny Boy pattern, which I've done twice before, 3 times before now. That's how much I love that hat pattern. I did it a bit longer so she could like fold it up at the base before it gets into the Danny Boy pattern repeat. My only concern is that this looks huge, but that might only be because I've only ever knit baby hats before. I think this will fit her fine, but I am slightly concerned. And then my other concern is that this yarn is such a like soft fluffy blown yarn that it kind of doesn't have much structure, so I am a little bit worried about how that is going to be knit up around the like top of the hat. We're going to see how it goes. Hopefully it will work out fine, and I really hope it does, because I have bought this yarn in so many different colours for different hats that I want to make myself over the next winter season. So yeah, I really hope this works out, but so far so good. I've started 1 row of the Danny Boy pattern repeat here, which you can't really see, but that will work up really nicely. And I've been knitting this in bed whilst listening to an audiobook every evening. This is like 2 evenings work, and yeah, I just love working with this yarn. It's so soft and it's so affordable as well. Okay, and then my third gift knit whip are my first ever pair of socks. I'm not gonna lie, when I first started knitting I had no interest in making socks. I was like, I don't think I will ever knit a pair of socks. The smallness of the needles and how quickly I'm worried how quickly they'd wear down and that they wouldn't be seen, and that like I'm just not a sock person. Like for something that you walk around on your feet and that no one really gets to see, I was just like, I don't think I'm gonna make any pairs of socks. But I asked everyone if they'd like a hat, and G, my husband, said he wouldn't wear a hat, he wouldn't wear mittens, so he wanted a pair of socks. So for him I would do anything. So I'm knitting a pair of socks, and he chose the yarns for this, which is so exciting. So we have gone for the cuff and the heel flap. I've got the contrasting colour of Drops Fable in the shade 102 Pink. It's the unique colour here, which looks like this. And then for the main colour, I'm using Drops Fable in the shade Salt and Pepper, which, oh my god, I was so excited. I really pushed for this particular yarn because I've never worked with a self-striping yarn before, and I just thought that would be really fun, kind of keep it interesting. And this is how the socks are looking so far. The pattern I'm using is again another free pattern from Ravelry. I think it's called the I'm So Basic sock, but it's like a very basic sock pattern, which is very good for beginners, I'm finding, because it's like 10 pages of instructions and she talks through everything so deeply. The designer is called Vicky Knits, I want to say, and this is what the sock is looking like so far. I love this. Can you see how lovely this yarn is working up to be like self-striping with all these other cute little salt and pepper white and black stripes? So yeah, I'm loving this so far. I'm still getting used to how skinny these needles are. They are so skinny, 2.25 I want to say, and I'm working this in Magic Loop, which I've hated doing in the past for all the baby hats, but I feel like this project is really, this and the mitten project is really helping me get to grips better with Magic Loop technique. So yeah, this is the socks. Hopefully they will be done by my next vlog, or I will continue knitting these up in that standalone project vlog. And then my only other, god, this video is going to be so long, I'm sorry. Hope you're knitting along with me. By the way, I would love to know what you're working on at the moment. Please leave me a comment letting me know what your project on your needles currently is, and if you're doing any gift knits and what they are, because I want to talk gift knits like it's all I'm thinking about at the moment. I've got one more whip and it's a crochet project. You might remember in my last video I showed my first ever crochet project, which was the trendy everyday handbag by Gulk. I made that in a red. Love that bag so much that I wanted to make it again, and this time I'm making it in a sparkly black, which is from Hobby. It is called the Friends Ribbon Gold in black, and it also comes in loads of different sparkly colours. This one is turning out to be quite a lot wider than my first. For some reason I feel like it's slightly wider, and I think that's because I'm actually just getting better at crochet and learning more. This one has, the red one has quite a few mistakes in this one at the moment. I'm just taking my time with, and I haven't really worked on this in a couple of weeks, but it's just one that I grab and go when I've got like 5 minutes. I find it so much easier to pick this up and work on it for short term rather than knitting. It feels like a bit more of a, like I need a 20-minute slot at least to get stuck into my knitting. So I'm thinking of this one I'm going to make not as high but with longer straps, so maybe up to here, and then longer thicker straps. And the pattern said that I only needed 2 of these. You're holding it double. I'm definitely going to need another 2 of these, which is lucky because I did purchase 2 balls extra, so I should be fine with that. But yeah, I think that's so nice for the Christmas season, just a nice sparkly handbag. And then very quickly, some yarn acquisitions. I am so excited about this. Firstly, I have done a gauge swatch for a jumper that I want to cast on in the near future, which is called the Joe Sweater by November Knits. It is such a beautiful jumper. I spoke about this in my autumn winter knitting plans, and my gauge swatch looks like this. I actually think I'm slightly under gauge, so I might need to either go up a needle size or just knit a lot looser. But for this I am using Sanders Gun Sunday in the shade 1. I think it's just the white, just a white shade, and I'm holding it together with Drops Kid Silk in the shade 38, which I think is called Chalk. I have bought 9 balls of this. I think that's too much for this jumper, but it's good to have more than necessary. So it's kind of like a white, but it's a bit more of a pinkish white, but I really like how this is knit up. I cannot express to you how soft this gauge swatch is. It is, I think, even softer than this jumper. It's so beautiful. I am a bit worried about going up a needle size because it is already kind of see-through, but the mohair just adds the nicest fluff, and these two yarns together are just so incredibly soft. And then finally, a bit of an impromptu yarn purchase, but one that I am so excited about. One second, my cat is here. This is Maurice. I think you can see now why I chose these particular colours for this jumper, my Maurice jumper, because he has got all the same colours in him. He's got the white, he's got the black, he's got the beige. You are the cutest. I have purchased the yarn for the Porcelain sweater by Vicky Knits. I purchased the pattern, I purchased the yarn, and I'm so excited about this. This is just like my dream jumper. It reminds me of the blue china that I find whilst mudlarking. So for this I am using, for the main colour, I think I'm using the same as the pattern called for, which is Sadness Gone Tin Peargill in the shade 2641, which is the same colour. It's the shade Natural Melange. I bought this from, where did I buy it from? I bought this from a website called Linden Hobby, and it was £4.12 a ball. I think I'm going to be making the size medium because I do want it a little bit oversized. But yeah, this is the main yarn that I'm going to hold together with one strand of Drops brushed alpaca silk. I just, knitting is such a big investment money wise, and I would love to be able to buy the Sadness Garn or the Knitting for Olive mohairs, but I just couldn't justify spending that much money, so I've chosen the Drops brushed alpaca silk instead. This is in the shade 40, which I think is called Marzipan, and I think these go together perfectly actually. I think that's going to be so nice. And then for the blue in the pattern, I've got the Sadness Garn Tin Peargill in the shade 6046, which is called Jolly Blue, and I'm going to be holding that together with the Drops brushed alpaca silk in the shade 26. I can't remember what that colour is called, but again I think these are going to go so nicely together. The alpaca is slightly lighter than the main yarn, but I think that together they will look so nice. So I haven't made my gauge swatch yet. I want to get my Yoon sweater and some gift knits out the way first, but I'm really hoping to cast this on as soon as possible because I really want to wear this jumper all Christmas. You guys, that is everything. That was such a long video, but I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions, let me know down below. I would love for you to stick around and subscribe and like if you liked it, and I'd love to chat to you in the comments about what you're making, and if you've made any of these patterns already. Lots of love.